Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very end of 2020. Hooray!
It's not the very end, Krista. We have
It's almost.
more
It's
things between then and now.
the 29th, and today we're doing government and security, and this is a long section.
We're coming
This
to
whole
you.
week's going to be weird.
We're coming to you from the future, and I can tell you that it's not any different.
How
No,
are we
everything
coming from
goes
the
away
future?
magically.
We're telling that it's like we're 2021. It's the same. Like something's magically going to happen on New Year's. Nope. I'm here to tell you, not the case.
You don't know that. There could be another RV bombing.
Another Australian wildfire. Remember when that was news?
But we do have just a ton of stories because of the timing. As you mentioned, we're not on a 7-day cycle right now. We're on more like a 10-day cycle, 11-day cycle. And then Thursday will be live news on a much shorter cycle. That's going to be a 4-day.
So next week is going to be a light news week. Super light news.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we'll only have
Yeah.
Thursday to Tuesday. Wow. What a weird year it's been. But you know what? Let's not dwell on it. Let's just talk about what's going on in the news. And it's a lot of government news and an astonishing amount of security news.
Yeah.
It's almost like everybody waited till nobody was paying attention to
To do
publish
lots of terrible things.
a bunch of
I think that's
security
universally
stuff.
true everywhere.
But the first story is a follow-up, and we know that the FBI wants to be in the back door of our devices. They want our tender back doors. And no one else wants that. None of the citizenry, and certainly not the people who try to defend us. So, of course, lawsuits.
The ACLU is suing for more information about the FBI's phone hacking lab. So this is like not anything new. The ACLU has actually been working on this for upwards of 7 years, and they keep not getting anything. And so they've taken the complaints directly to the general counsel and the attorneys general, because they have all this documentation that the FBI is not complying with Freedom of Information Act requests. And you remember like the San Bernardino shooter, and Attorney General Barr at the time was like, oh, we need a backdoor, we need to do this. But then they got access to the phones anyway. That happens a lot. This isn't really about access to encrypted, impenetrable encryption phones. This is more about making it easier, because you just hang on to an iPhone for a while, they discover a security vulnerability, and they can get in. They just want, to be assured that they can get in. But then the phone can't tell the difference between the criminal and law enforcement. So what do you do?
Krista, these interspersed skulls and CPU sockets, I really like it. What do you think?
I don't really understand how it has to do with literally anything about this story, but, it is a nice graphic.
Well, see, those skulls are the FBI. And
Right.
they're in your CPU sockets, poisoning them.
The other complaint I have with this article is that it doesn't talk about the fact that there are already encryption backdoors that have backfired on us spectacularly. See also the OPM hack.
Another thing that's
That's a problem for pastime. It'll never happen again.
another thing that's backfired spectacularly is depending too much on one source for infrastructure. That whole one point of failure thing, because it failed. Oh boy, did it fail! How much did it fail? Well, no one's really sure, but it keeps getting worse.
U.S. Cyber Agency says SolarWinds hackers are impacting state and local governments. This article chose to focus on just Arizona, although we know of at least a dozen local and state governments that have been affected by this. SolarWinds was compromised, and it's bad news. And then it turns out, oh wait, there's a second actor in there, but that story is going to be in business.
Now, last
Not
week,
good.
certainly not good at all. We don't know how not good. That could be one of the 2021 events as we find out just how bad it is.
And by the way, backdoors, like this is a preview of what backdoor encryption is going to be like, because like, oh, we just put it in there for U.S. law enforcement. Do you think China won't figure that out? Because they'll figure it out.
I explained part of this story to my mom over the holiday, and she was like, what? I haven't seen anything in the news about that. And I was like, yeah, it's not good, Mom. They don't know how bad it is yet. And she was like, what do you mean they don't know yet? And I was like,
Yeah, I doubt that CNN puts any airtime for that story.
toward that, yeah.
I mean, probably a little bit when it first happened, but nothing since then.
We should create a honeypot on the internet that seems like we're a non-government organization think tank that's working on those crazy patents that they have, like the mass displacement devices and stuff like that, and just Just honeypot the crap out of that and see who shows up.
Last week, we saw Facebook stage a daring run-in in one of the fights with Apple, because Apple, they really don't like that whole privacy control thing that Apple has done. Last week, who was the other person last week? It was one of the smaller companies. But it was one of the people who were doing battle with Apple over the App Store thing. And this week, we learned that Facebook spends a lot of time on diplomacy when it comes to battling its tech giant enemies.
Facebook and Google have teamed up against the possible antitrust action, draft lawsuit says. What do you like what, in the Marvel universe, who would they be?
They would be characters that wouldn't be covered in superhero stuff, because that's not the kind of evil that's exciting. It's just sad.
I don't know. Facebook is the kind of evil that's exciting, but Google is a little bit more ambiguous.
Was there a character who turned men's hearts to evil? Because I think that's what Facebook does. Or maybe nurtures the evil that's already there, perhaps.
I mean,
That's Sauron.
I'm just saying that, Lex Luthor didn't have any his employees seem like they sleep with a clear conscience, and I don't think that's true of Facebook employees.
Yeah, I don't think Lex...
No, they have horrible post-traumatic stress disorder from watching all those videos they have to monitor.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Lex did a lot of woke hiring.
It would be interesting to see how Lex Luthor reacts to woke hiring debacle number 3. That would be kind of funny.
Mr. Luthor, we need to really get on top of this thing about putting tampons in the men's bathroom. I'm like, what? I'm trying to kill the Man of Steel here. You gonna waste my time with that? You know who I am? We are still having this contest of facial recognition versus no facial recognition. Some cities embrace it. Some cities ban it. Now it's getting down into even smaller municipalities, and we're just going to have a terrible patchwork of laws. New York continues to adjust.
Governor Cuomo in New York signs legislation suspending use and directing study of facial recognition technology in schools.
I don't understand how these fancy pins represent facial recognition.
Somebody wanted to show off their
signed
collection.
it into law, I guess.
Oh, it's from the New York governor's office, so he's just showing off his opulence to the proletariat.
Or it's just a default image whenever it's whatever taxonomy it's in, it's whatever you signed. Is it legislation? Then show this pen image.
It was almost a year ago that we were making fun of China. Remember, there was that software, and it was it's going to recognize when students are paying attention and scold them if they're not paying attention using facial recognition. And we were
But they had backlash there too. And
Yeah.
it's weird when you get backlash in China. It has to be really bad.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be a trend here. I don't know. I don't think I was certainly, if I hadn't been reading these for this, I wouldn't be aware of how damning all that educational stuff is becoming. More about that later in the security section. But we also have to look at Google. We're talking about the big tech companies and these impending lawsuits around the globe. Is there any country that's not suing them at this point? And you might think that we will see some sort of change in the coming year. Maybe, the year of rebirth. We rise like a phoenix. We have good tech laws. But the judge in that case has poured some cold water on that hope.
The DOJ case against Google likely won't go to trial until late 2023, judge says. It was really weird here in the U.S. We had an attorney general, Barr, and he put this thing together, and it's look, my crowning achievement, big technology is going to pay. And then he's all right, I'm done. See ya. And it's what? Who's going to see this through?
Not him.
I would say if you are a Google corporate lawyer, go ahead and put a down payment on that summer home, because you have some serious job security for the next 2 years.
Your summer home with your bunker.
Bulletproof VPNs. What does that mean? Does that mean they're impervious to small arms? No, not at all. It means that they play fast and loose with requests to take things down from, countries and law enforcement agencies. And they're not really saying we won't do that, but they certainly slow play it when it comes in. And certain countries ran out of patience.
Law enforcement take down 3 bulletproof VPN providers. These VPN services provided a safe haven for cyber criminals to carry out ransomware attacks, web skimming operations, spear phishing, and account takeovers. They just seized the domains. They haven't announced charges against anybody in particular yet, but the domains have been seized. It's insorg.org, safe-inet.com, and safeinet.net.
Org.org is a terrible domain name.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, they were well known, and they actually advertised among the dark web and forums where this kind of thing would go on and be like, "Hey, we won't let anything happen to you," and they true to their word, I suppose, but not anymore. Those are all logging your addresses at this point. I wouldn't use them. IBM is not under the same kind of scrutiny as Google and Facebook and Apple, but the government still comes after them from time to time, and this time around they say, you know what, we're happy to pay a small fee to get rid of this.
IBM will pay $24.25 million to resolve FCC probes. So Mr. Ajit Pai makes a cameo in this story. This has to do with the Universal Service Fund. IBM was supposed to take some money from the Universal Service Fund and wire up some libraries and schools, but after review audit, they determined that the products that IBM gave the schools weren't actually eligible to, be funded through the Universal Service Fund. So IBM admits no wrongdoing, but they are refunding the money. And the FCC, Ajit Pai is like, yeah, we don't, no fraud and waste and blah, blah, blah. But the only thing I could think there was like, well, IBM's not a telecom company, so, of course you're going to go hard and fast after them.
Yeah. There's no threat to his retirement there.
Yeah.
That's a paltry sum, though.
Yeah.
Really. And I'm sure that it's never going to filter back down to those libraries.
That $24 million is going to go right back to Verizon or AT&T or Comcast or Frontier. Maybe it'll help Frontier with their bankruptcy.
I bet.
Hey, wait a minute.
You think that Ajit Pai has time, and he's got what, 20 some days left?
He's only got a matter of working hours left.
Does he not go
I don't
as
think
far
anyone's
as the inauguration? Is he done at the end of the year?
I think he's done at the end of the year.
So is the FCC just headless until?
No, that's what they were talking about last time. Is like they were trying to get some of the other people promoted because they had a vacancy already.
So, in that amount of time, could he possibly route that $24 million to AT&T because of what happened?
Oh, probably. Just getting it just under the wire.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We have a small update on the Florida situation with the whole whistleblower for the pandemic. Not a surprise by any means, but a few more details have come out because of this.
Rebekah Jones, former State 19 data manager, sues FDLE over a raid on her home. So her lawyer's handling it, and her lawyer is also a criminal defense lawyer, which is good. Smart move. You don't often see this. It's like, oh, they're going to, this is a civil matter, but they're going to try to apply extra leverage by saying that there's a criminal component here, which you as a citizen, that's a big no-no. That's super frowned upon. Like, you can't sue somebody in civil court and then be like, oh, we discovered criminal activity, because it's up to the prosecutor to do that. So the lawyer representing her can also handle it if she is charged criminally, which is really amazing. But you should check out the article, because all of the crap that was in the reports that was not actually true from law enforcement, like, oh, we never took our guns out of our holster, her lawyer pretty systematically takes down. So it's nice.
I mean, there's video showing that they did indeed take out their guns.
They didn't know there was video at first. Oops.
We would have never lied if we knew that we would get caught.
Yeah. But they were wearing body cams. They knew there was video. They just thought they had control of it.
Yeah.
Which is even worse.
Yeah, that is kind of worse, isn't it? It's like, wait, our body cams will show that we took out our firearms. It's like, oh, we meant that we didn't point firearms at anybody. It's like, but you pointed it up the stairs. There were people upstairs. You can't.
At the kids.
Do you think drywall is going to stop that slug? Because I got news for you. It's not.
I was watching, I don't know how old they were. I think they were from this year. But somebody made a compilation, and it was all the times that cops incriminated themselves on body cams. And other cops got creative and trying to tell them that, hey, this is running, without saying, hey, this is running. And there was one where this guy was talking, and there was the commander's body cam that was running, and he was like, get over there and secure that area. And he started barking out commands, and all the cops were like, hey, what's going on? But he was just trying to get them to stop incriminating themselves.
Oh, that's not. That does not bode well for us as a society.
I guess it's easy to forget that you're wearing that. Well, the SEC has decided. The SEC, one of the big things that it can use in its arsenal against any kind of substitute money is this operating as an investment or a security or something like that? And if they determine that it is, but you're not treating it like that, you can be in some trouble.
XRP cryptocurrency crashes following announcement of the SEC suit against Ripple. And oh boy, the SEC is coming for blood. The Ripple founder said that the SEC doesn't understand and is wrong. I don't. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him.
They have a weird history because it used to be that the cryptocurrency was part of the business, but then they spun it off.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a good plan.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I think this is probably not going to end well for them unless they pay a bunch of money. Really, what we're going to see over the next year with cryptocurrency in general is that the only cryptocurrencies that don't provide good anonymity are going to be the ones that are, quote unquote, allowed.
I don't know if that one was all that great for anonymity.
No, I don't think it was, but you have to have the parent organizations cooperate. Like they want the crypto that has basically a central authority, whether not necessarily technical, but in terms of like integration or money changers, like Coinbase. It's like, yeah, you're just going to be on. It's kind of like even your local bank, like your local branch bank, you do a cash transaction over $10,000, the feds get notified. Didn't know that, did you?
So, China, I think now that we're wrapping up 2020 and China is fairly comfortable that they've destroyed Hong Kong and, Macau is now under their umbrella. And I think they're probably pretty confident about Taiwan and the South China Sea and all that stuff too. So it's time to start tightening the noose. And here we go.
Apple's China App Store sheds video games as Beijing tightens internet control. We covered this a year ago, but it was when games required licenses. So for whatever reason, it wasn't enforced on the Apple Store until now.
Bad news for Apple, because that's got to be a lot of revenue, don't you think?
Yeah, but Apple is it's a lot more revenue to not do business in China. What, Krista?
No, I was agreeing with you.
So this is very sad because I'm an independent developer making Flappy Bird. Can I get a license from China for that? No.
Yeah, they point out that you could maybe go through one of China's companies, but they're going to take a big chunk.
Yeah.
And probably have a lot of control. So here in the U.S., of course, Trump, at this point, do you think anybody's holding out hope that Trump... Did you see in his when they did the $600 check, when he was doing that press release, he said, if they don't fix this, the next administration will have to do the COVID relief. And then he paused a bit and was like, and it might be me. He's such a prick. But he's a lame duck. I don't think he's got any chance. And it seems like they're just jamming as much through as they can at the end. This one probably a little toothless.
U.S. blacklists dozens of Chinese firms, including SMIC and DJI. SMIC was the sort of Chinese version of TSMC. That's the one that directly or indirectly hired a bunch of engineers from TSMC away. They've also said that they're ready to go pretty much on 7-nanometer process directly in China. Although it's really hard to get accurate and complete information on that because I'm super curious about that. SMIC producing 7-nanometer lithography, that seems crazy. But I can only find official Chinese sources for that and not anything beyond that. So, something to pay attention to.
Yeah, and probably shouldn't worry too much if you just bought a drone for Christmas. It'll still work.
Oh, yeah, DJI. We got their little action cam, which is not bad.
Now, China, aside from their international problems, also have a little bit of turmoil internally, but it's not so much because anybody did anything wrong, quote unquote. It's just that some people in China, they feel maybe getting a little too powerful. And when you have this much money, yeah, you've got a lot of power. So if you're the Communist Party, what do?
Oh no, China is launching an antitrust probe into Jack Ma's Alibaba empire. Not good.
He has been essentially in hiding, at least, making public appearances since that failed IPO.
Yeah.
Which they estimated to cost around $200 billion.
Did you see the press conference or whatever with that when they had the official people on from the state? He was like, "Oh, we remain hopeful, blah blah blah," and the guy from the state was like, "No, we're not doing this.
We don't remain hopeful. Absolutely."
Yeah. It was very upsetting, and it's no wonder that he's disappeared. He's probably fears for his life.
Yeah, because no matter how rich you are in that country, that's true here too. Let's not kid ourselves. So yeah, I think if he's smart, he will just be like, you know what? I've got plenty of money. I don't need any more. I'll just continue running these two companies, and I'll be perfectly happy. I'm the richest man in China, after all, because the other option is probably a dark cell somewhere under the Uyghur prison. China also, along with banning some video games, has more rules for their already heavily restricted online streaming people.
China wants hefty fines for viral video creators who binge food and drinks. This doesn't seem like much of a binge to me, honestly. This clip.
I mean, this would mean the level 1 drunk news. You wouldn't be able to watch it in China.
What is that, like 1.5 liters? Badlands Chugs would crush that. So
I don't think any of us drink that hard, but
I think this person, oh yeah, this is Pang Zai. So he is a hugely popular mukbang or mukbang or however you pronounce it guy in China, and he's run into issues with them before. Now China has started this like clean your plate thing. They want to end food waste, but the supporters of this guy have pointed out he never leaves food behind.
He doesn't need that many calories. No calorie left behind.
China, I think, might be concerned about their food supply. They've also been doing a bit of a grain grab, like trying to buy up grains from a lot of other countries. So they had a lot of food earlier this year.
We're having a food problem in America in Chicago. Like the food pantries are like going full tilt.
Swamped, yeah.
What a surprise. The biggest socialist wasteland in America is having food problems. There's nothing historically that could have taught us about this. What'd you say, Chris?
It's happening in Texas as well. It's not, it has nothing to do with the particular area. It's every city in the U.S. right now.
I really think that guy should apply, the streamer guy. He should apply for asylum to America just because I want to see his asylum application. And it's like, I was persecuted for binge eating on stream.
You got to get that alien of exceptional talent or whatever. That's like, what's your talent?
Consuming.
I can eat Texas barbecue like nobody's business.
Welcome to America's son. You're going to fit right in here. So also they pointed out that in China, it's kind of a cultural thing that if someone visits you, part of the way that you show them that you like really respect them is to serve them too much food. And the Communist Party is trying to stop that. But I feel like that's one of those like really deep cultural things that people aren't going to give up.
Yeah, probably not.
Now, China, we know that they spy a lot, and we know that we spy a lot, and we know there's a lot of, back and forth. They're hacking us, we're hacking them. They've got spies on the ground, we've got spies on the ground.
They hacked our hackers.
But what you might not think about are the proxy spying wars. You see people from China and people from the U.S. visit other countries, and at that point, it's just like all bets are off.
Visit. Why are you here? Oh, it has nothing to do with upending the local government. It's fine. China used stolen data to expose CIA operatives in Africa and Europe. We hinted about this last week, but this is the first good write-up on foreignpolicy.com. And you should read it. It's a long read, but it provides good background and context. And it also helps you understand that, this isn't really anything new. Like, everybody is kind of doing this. Was it this article that mentioned the SolarWinds thing? Like one of the CIA people came out and said, yeah, everybody's doing this kind of SolarWinds thing. It's just the first time that it's been really big news.
I don't know if it was this one or not. But yeah, basically, if you travel to a country where China has a lot of infrastructure, which Africa is certainly that. We've talked about that before. China is making huge strides to connect Africa with their stuff in the infrastructure, which is probably calling home. And so anytime somebody goes to Africa, China's listening in.
Yeah. This also didn't seem to be like overtly political or in the news. It was just sort of, hey, by the way, we know that you know. We know that you know that we know.
And to take that even further was this story, which my favorite part about this story is that it's like, okay, how did you find this out? It's like, well, we found it out because the guys that were shadowing our guys made it real clear that they were shadowing. They wanted us to know that they knew. Yeah. And they wanted us to know that, wanted us to, make no secrets. And then there were some other guys that was like, well, my guy was pretty sneaky. I don't think they wanted me to know. So it's like China's doing a case-by-case basis on how hard they counter-spy.
China used mass surveillance on thousands of Americans' phones, reports claim. This is in the Caribbean. So like the cellular phone infrastructure there, preview of like Huawei and all of that kind of stuff, completely owned. So if you wanted to know where anybody was at any given time, you could ping their cell phone completely surreptitiously, nearly undetectably.
And they're definitely there. And so are we. Again, we wouldn't know unless we were there.
Listen, there's a lot of tax evasion through St. Kitts and Nevis, so we need to know about all of it.
Yeah, I bet the IRS is a heavy presence there. That's probably a fun job, just go live in paradise and destroy your countrymen's way of life. The Russians, as usual, Russia and China have similar tact in terms of, like how we're going to control these filthy dissidents. But Russia's just a little bit more in your face about it. Just a little bit, just going to tell you up front, don't even try it.
Russian lawmakers passed a bill that could block social media sites and stifle dissent. So imagine Twitter, but instead of that little, like, this claim is disputed, like, it's just black. There's just nothing there.
There is no tweet that criticizes Putin or anybody else.
That thing where we poison the opposition leader, that's fake news. It's like, wait a minute, that's not fake news at all.
I didn't include it, but he did pass that bill excusing all former presidents of illegals. Yeah. I like how everybody was crapping on Trump for his pardons and like thinking about pardoning himself, and it was like, well, just look what Putin's doing. Jesus. Taking it to the 11th. Here in the U.S., we talk a lot about our FCC and our broadband map. That is the map of the U.S., which has, 25 megabits still?
Oh, yeah.
Has at least 25 megabits of download speed. And is it 25.1?
I think it's 25.3.
Okay. So garbage tier internet, but some places don't even have it. And this map is, it's like, that's what we base giving all the free money to the telecoms. And it's a lie. It's garbage. They say
absolutely a lie.
Every year they come out and they're like, we hit the goal. And then 50 organizations come out and say, no. How are you testing this? Look, we've done a lot of research to prove to you that you are absolutely wrong. And we might feel bad about that, but we're not alone.
After 11 years, Australia declares its national broadband network is built and fully operational. It was necessary to do this over the Christmas holiday because no one would otherwise, accept this as fact. Those 35,000 connections that aren't built, celebrate the 11.86 million that were, says the minister. Literally, the minister is like, yeah, by the way, this is a thing.
We lost
Krista.
Oh, it's back. And it repositioned her window for some reason.
Yay.
Sorry.
Updated video drivers. Woo.
Sorry if we rapidly switched there. It might have been still doing it behind the scenes. So yeah, they say there's only 35,000 connections that aren't built, and that seems to be true, but
that's still a lot.
They also have the 25 megabit minimum. And someone pointed out, hey, a lot of these don't hit 25 megabits in reality.
Yeah.
You didn't really do it. And he was like, you're stupid, we did it. He blames
accomplished.
He blames the 35,000 on new construction.
It's like 3 megabit in places. Are you in Australia? Are you on the National Broadband Network? Tell us in the comments how it is for you, Engagement Challenge. Because in the past, we've got like some of those 7-paragraph comments are about the National Broadband Network and how terrible it is.
Well, the Australians are, they're the whipping boy of the world in terms of bad internet.
Yeah.
It would be us if not for them. It's like Kentucky if we didn't have Alabama and West Virginia.
It's true.
This is just a real quick follow-up because I think everybody saw this coming. It was a matter of time, and you got to give them credit. They did it quickly.
Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Mozilla ban Kazakhstan's man-in-the-middle HTTPS certificate. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how, you want an encrypted internet connection, you're going to have to install the state's encryption certificate so you can man-in-the-middle it. Well, all the organizations that you would be connecting to have banned that certificate. So they will not permit traffic to travel over a connection that uses such a certificate.
It's got to suck to be those people, because a lot of them don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
They're just like, I just want it to work. I just want to look
at my Gmail.
Yeah, Christmas recipes. This is, honestly, I think this was a really good idea. They had a security guy who was smart, but had no social skills.
That's a good way to explain it.
Negative amounts of social skills. Because this was a stupid thing to do, but also a very smart thing. It pointed out a problem, but it did so in a very insensitive way.
Yeah. GoDaddy is facing backlash after sending out fake holiday bonus email. So GoDaddy's got a problem. Their employees respond to phishing, and that's bad when you're one of the largest internet domain name registrars on the internet. So what do? You retrain your employees. Well, how do you do it? You send them a fake email saying, you're going to get a bonus. Just fill out this form with your employee information. And a lot of people did. And then they got an email a couple of days later that was like, you're not getting a bonus, and that was a phishing attempt.
But like, we didn't know. It's like, of course we're never giving you a bonus. You should have known that.
Some people did.
Are you stupid?
Like, a lot of employees were like, they would never do this. So it wasn't.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Cynicism is security. That's a t-shirt. Now we're going to do a block here that has to do with spyware. But wait, it's not called that. It's called something else, and people are embracing it at a rapid pace. And in these uncertain times, we don't have a good alternative to it. But at the same time, it's terrible.
2,000 parents demand major academic publisher drop Proctorio surveillance tech. We demand that McGraw-Hill Publishing closes performative allyship and to end peddling of racially biased, invasive surveillance technology immediately. So this is like a little bit like confirmation bias or survivorship bias, where it's like, it works perfectly fine. No, it only works perfectly fine if you have an amazing internet connection and an amazing computer. Otherwise, the software has found that you're cheating.
And a camera.
Yeah, and
a microphone. Your microphone has to be good. If you're like Krista, that cutout that we had when we were doing this earlier, when we were testing,
that's a fail.
That could have cost her a test.
Yeah.
Just because the microphone is like, wait, what? Silence for 10 seconds? You must be muting me so that you can ask questions to somebody else in the room. Like, that's the kind of thing that they assume. Yeah. And
you have lots of people in your house that you're asking questions to when you're in the middle of a pandemic. Absolutely.
And the eye tracking. So if you look away for too long, but if you look away and then you lose like 20 frames, and that's just you looking away in a solid frame for that long, then the software is like, hey, wait, what's going on here? Why are you looking over there? What's over there? So,
yeah. Not
great. They also point out that McGraw-Hill is kind of rolling this stuff out, but when they looked at the filings and everything, it turns out McGraw-Hill has a huge ownership piece of this, or at least they're invested financially in some way.
They're pushing for it hard. Well, at least the software, it's giving people stuff to do and something creating jobs.
Well, so here's a question. Schools are in a tough place because the funding, obviously we're giving all that money to Pakistan. We got no funding for schools, not in the U.S. And you have to make cuts. And this software, kind of expensive. So if you have to choose between guaranteeing there's no cheating or having a staff, what do?
New York City is paying $2 million for anti-plagiarism software after firing teachers. City university administrators laid off thousands of instructors and staff this summer, but they're still paying big bucks for anti-cheating software. Well, of course, that makes perfect sense. These heathens are cheating at home. We have to catch that using highly invasive software.
Similarly here, a lot of the people involved are speaking out against it. They're pointing out all the ways that it fails. And, the big one is the whole, it really is terrible at keeping track of black people. Because that whole, you've been gone for 10 seconds. They're just like a really dark black guy. And they sent him a video. It's like, you were gone for 10 seconds. He was like, what? No.
You sent me a video of me being in the camera.
Yeah, it's just some clouds went over. That's like, no, you cheated. You're done here. I cannot keep this thing in my ear today. And if you need some sort of like smoking gun of how bad this software is, maybe if we just had a really big data set, we could determine that. Oh, wait.
ExamSoft flags 1/3 of California bar exam test takers for cheating. So this is on the EFF.org, and so the EFF predictably is very anti this software, which kind of makes sense. And this article is an amazing and scathing takedown of that.
Look at this. This is a great image, Krista.
It is a good picture.
The cloud. It's got its evil hands. It's only got 3 fingers.
It's like, look, I'm a big proponent of technology, but this is accurate. This picture is absolutely accurate. We don't need to be enslaved by our computers. This is dumb.
Now, as you might imagine, the Bar Association has a lot of bureaucracy. And these people all got letters notifying them that they cheated, but not how they cheated exactly. Just that they've cheated, and they've got 10 days to appeal that, or they're just done.
But they don't. Yeah, they don't tell you what you need to appeal, so you can't prepare an argument.
They gave some like really vague. Oh yeah, here we go. So like you get a letter that's like, if you don't fix this within 10 days, you'll never be a lawyer. And,
facial view of your eyes was not within view of the camera for a prolonged period of time.
And this is what we're talking about. Like Krista, when her audio ducks out,
no audible sound was detected.
It's going to get you every time.
I mean, some of the HP Envy laptops have that nonsense on it that like cleans up your audio and your video.
They pointed out Lenovo was real bad at failing
Yeah.
this.
Well, also, like, if you have a lot of background noise, like your husband's eating salad in the background, maybe you want to mute your mic
Krista,
periodically so it doesn't interrupt everyone else's learning experience.
He could be tapping out encoded messages on that metal bowl.
Well, yeah, and I could be cheating. You're right.
We can't have that. Now, there's some great arguments to say that this stuff is terrible, but then you got to have the counterpoint.
More than 70 West Point cadets accused of cheating in academic scandal. What? This is not electronic. This is in person.
No, it's not.
It's electronic?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one that was electronic?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so West Point, because it's 2020, went remote for this testing. And they had this kind of thing. Now, they did not use this kind of software necessarily. They might have, but they didn't claim this is how they caught them.
I thought this was the one where they called them in.
Right, but they all got it the same question wrong in the same way.
Oh.
And that's how they knew.
That wasn't the... Okay.
So everybody that got that question wrong in that way was called in. And how many was it? I think like 50 of the 70 have admitted it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you can maybe get away with cheating online a lot more. I mean, that's obvious, right? So what do? You've either got this horrible software that doesn't really work or cheating.
59 out of 73 have said, yep, we cheated.
Oh, 59. Okay. This is kind of a microcosm. This is kind of what we ran into with our Minecraft server.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not cheating. I just have these client-side plugins that speed up mining and mess with the random number generator.
And trying to fix that ruined it for everybody else. It's tough. It's tough to find a middle ground there. Those guys, they point out that at West Point, they have an honor policy that's one sentence. It's like, I will not lie, I will not cheat, and I will not tolerate anyone else doing it. So they can nuke you for almost any reason. And that's by design. This is, when it comes to leaks, the things they can get a hold of, you think about your driver's license, your social security number, your credit card data. Oh my God, that's awful. But this is a really disturbing one.
No, I think the other one is more disturbing, but
yeah, I'm disturbed by the other.
Hackers threatened to leak plastic surgery pictures. So, you're a plastic surgeon, you run a clinic, you get hacked, somebody exfiltrates all of your data, you won't pay the ransom. Well, you get the patient's data, you can email them and be like, I've got your before and after pictures. I'm going to leak it to your people.
They're not going for the customers. They're going at the company. And the customers, like whoever this was, BBC, contacted some of the customers because they got the leak. And they were like, hey, are you aware of this? and the company had not made the customers aware.
Ugh.
They knew there was a leak, but they didn't say anything about the 900 gigabytes of images.
Oh, I'd read that from one of these things that some of the people had been harassed. But that's certainly what's happening in our next story, though.
Oh, good segue.
Oh, no, wait. That's not the story that I thought it was. It's the
which one
Ledger
you're thinking
story. That might be in business.
Oh, yeah, it probably is.
Sorry.
But this one could affect you. I'd say a lot of people got brand new TVs for Christmas. And if you're one of those people, what brand is it? Actually, it doesn't matter. They're all spying on you.
Yeah.
But this one might be spying to China.
DHS looking into cyber risk from TCL smart TVs. Uh-oh. The smart TV is a way into your home to invade all of your other devices. Nice.
Yeah, they point out that, it could steal credentials. It could be on your network and stuff like that. Now, of course, TCL is saying, no, that's not the case. But a lot of people are showing network traffic to China after booting up their brand new TVs.
Well, I mean, that's true of like anything. It's just a question of whether or not it's benign.
Their sidebar over here with their Facebook feed. They have a story about Neopets and how Neopets exposes your data, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tell my best friend.
Are we
Got
still
into Neopets.
Are we making
It's been
new
like 20 years.
Are we making new Neopets in 2020?
I don't think most people are, but my friend discovered her old account and was like, ooh, I'm gonna log back in and get some more pets. And I was like, that site's still up and it looks atrocious. The site design has not changed in like 10 years.
Well, it's healthier than some people who collect actual pets like that. So let's just go ahead and let that continue. Ron Wyden is one of the names that we say constantly here because he really gets in there, gets about knee deep in the swamp of technology and calls it out.
He's good at finding the misleading answers and being like, can you clarify? And they're like, oh, crap. He's on to us.
And this is just more of the SolarWinds stuff. Again, we don't have any idea how much SolarWinds stuff is out there, but he's kind of, ringing the alarm. It's like, I know it's been a week and the news cycle has moved on, but no, it's still a problem.
Dozens of email accounts were hacked at the U.S. Treasury, according to Senator Ron Wyden. Why is Ron Wyden breaking that news and not the Treasury?
So they did point out that his office was not affected and Mnuchin's office were not affected, and that he kind of like downplayed it. But Well, the snake doesn't trust the Treasury at all.
Yeah.
Well, he got an early look at Ron Paul's report after auditing the Fed, and he's just never been the same since.
He's a big crypto guy. Oh, here you go. Here's what you were alluding to. And this is definitely more dangerous than surgery photos being leaked of you, because not only do these people know your information and where you live, they know that you have a certain amount of money.
Yeah. Physical addresses of 270,000 Ledger owners leaked on Hacker Forum. But the emails that people have been getting are just, it is unsettling. It's like, here's your name, here's your address, here's how much money was in your wallet. I know where your house is. I'm coming there right now with a wrench, and you're going to give me your wallet. Or you can send me $500 right now, and we'll just call it even.
Are those international addresses, or are they all American?
I mean, it varies.
Because you're going to catch so much lead if you try that here in the good old US of A. At least in the red states. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lawsuit.
Probably.
And I think they'll win. Because good Lord, that's terrible.
But, it's funny, flying under the radar. It's one line in this article, but, some of the laws that were passed a couple of weeks ago to do with cryptocurrency trading have to do with like making sure your identity is known. But if you follow that through to your conclusion, like with Bitcoin, if enough stuff is known about the actors acting on Bitcoin, then your identity is not anonymous, and you could be targeted by criminals.
But you're already a criminal because you're trading cryptocurrency.
Well,
those are the only people that use that one. You know that. This one is, we talked about this before, the old NSO Group, this Israeli company who loves to hack on iPhones. God, they love hacking on iPhones, and they're good at it.
Dozens of journalists' iPhones hacked with NSO zero-click spyware, says Citizen Lab. Remember when the NSO Group said they would never do that? They would
And they were going to be really careful who they did business with in terms of nation states. Well, this was Saudi Arabia and who else?
Yeah.
These were Al Jazeera news workers, and some of the Middle Eastern countries definitely got spyware from NSO and attacked the reporters with it.
It was through iMessage. And Apple ended up redesigning iMessage because it was horribly insecure and dangerously insecure.
Which country was it that they agreed not to do business with anymore?
I thought it was Saudi Arabia.
Was it? It might have been Iran.
It wasn't Saudi Arabia. Probably was Iran.
Either way.
Saudi Arabia should be on that list, apparently.
Well, so should every country. Come on. Now, we found out some more interesting information. I should have put this with the other SolarWinds story. Interesting, but ultimately, they believe not a big deal, but also not surprising considering how the whole thing went down.
Second hacking team was targeting SolarWinds at the time of the big breach. So the details that came out of the first breach are basically that they were caught because they tried to escalate their access. Well, this second team had not yet tried to escalate their access. They were undetected.
But they also did not have the keys. They had not exfiltrated the keys.
Yeah.
So they might have actually used the SolarWinds 123 to get in.
Well, that was known. Like a security researcher reported that like a year before all this news broke. So who knows?
You remember how we talked about them flushing the vendor list so you didn't know who was using that? Turns out one company that just removed the big SolarWinds logo from the bottom of their website, Dominion Voting.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And when it comes to breaking encryption, when you do it, you got to brag, right? You go out there to Twitter and you're like, yeah, we did it. But sometimes that gets disputed.
On the signal.org website, they're reporting, no, Celebrite cannot break signal encryption. This goes on to explain this. I think this is interesting because when we reported this, we literally said this is not breaking the encryption that Signal uses. This is just recovering the keys and the messages from the particular device.
Yeah, so basically, if your device is not taken from you, there is no breakage of Signal.
Yeah.
This has to do with them getting your phone and then getting into the Signal app by breaking your phone.
Yeah. And we reported that accurately, but nobody else did. And I just assumed that everybody else was going to report it accurately too, but they did not.
How could you possibly, based on the history of this entire program, would make you think that they would report
We usually have reasonably good sources like Reuters. I mean, I'm surprised that Reuters would get that detail wrong, but okay.
Maybe Signal's lying, but I doubt it.
Oh, this was another one that was a dupe from a couple of weeks ago that doesn't really have a lot of new information, but I'll take every opportunity I can to remind everybody that Nintendo is a horribly evil company.
But they went into a lot of details here that we didn't know before of how far they took this.
It's disturbing.
This is an interesting job. How big do you think this team is inside Nintendo?
Probably 12 to 15 people, and then they use a lot of outside PIs.
Yeah. So you think it's like one agent per hacker, and then they just have like a fund that they use to...
Yeah, I think when they're targeting a specific group, they try to figure out who's in charge, and there's probably one person whose entire job is to just coordinate with that and deal with the team. But I think the boots on the ground are just hired muscle.
Well, this guy didn't have a team. It was just him, but he was really good. So he got the full brunt of Nintendo's power.
Nintendo conducted invasive surveillance operation against homebrew hacker. You should read this and understand what kind of company Nintendo is. If you do, you will never support Nintendo in any way, directly or indirectly, ever again.
Just like Krista with Blizzard Activision.
Yeah.
I really wanted to buy a bunch of Nintendo stuff, but I haven't.
When's the last time you played Overwatch, Krista?
Probably Friday.
You still playing ranked?
I haven't played ranked for a few days. There's a free promo going on right now. And so it's a lot of like new people or Smurfs and like, you know, people who are drunk from the holidays, and it's not a good experience to go into comp like that. So I've just been playing quick play.
That's what I do when I get a few in me. Right to the Overwatch.
right to competitive Overwatch where I can ruin the game for, 11 other people.
So this guy, they had his schedule. He probably didn't get out much. They knew when he did, though. They knew where he worked. They knew like where he shopped and everything like that. They had surveillance on him at all times, and they conducted this big scheme where they were going to confront him and be like, here's the business card. You need to stop what you're doing. Maybe there's a bounty program if you play nice, but if you don't...
Yeah, very heavy-handed.
So this all came to light because of some documents that were leaked in a lawsuit. And there might be more exciting stuff to learn from that.
Yeah, dark times. All the moves on Nintendo. I mean, you got to figure Nintendo, a lot of this Nintendo stuff, it has kind of become part of our culture. And I mean, Nintendo does have intellectual property rights. That's fine. But when it goes to this level, this is unacceptable.
Well, this guy was somewhat outspoken about this had something to do with the 3DS. But he was outspoken about not wanting it to lead to piracy. But Nintendo does kind of a point that this kind of research almost always opens up that door.
Yeah.
Because you can run whatever you want.
Well, I mean, you could say that you know, I mean, I think you can make that argument about anything. You can make that argument about a soldering iron. It's like, oh, a soldering iron could be used to modify a Nintendo 3DS. We should ban soldering irons.
A screwdriver.
Yeah. I mean, where do you draw the line?
Well, I think Nintendo would happily move the line past the screwdriver if it could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that they're willing to do that it's an egregious transgression against society when they're willing to do this kind of thing to protect their intellectual property. Their intellectual property is not worth this much.
Bowser disagrees.
Bowsette disagrees.
Mario is worth more than any human life. He's an icon.
Yeah, that's what Nintendo thinks too. Disney too. Disney's guilty of this stuff. Have you seen the stuff that Disney is doing with, like, when they acquired all the old Star Wars IP? They just stopped paying all those authors.
Is that legal?
No, but they're like, we can get away with it.
They have enough lawyers that they don't need to care.
Yeah, that is exactly it. And it's like this: when the corporation that is controlling creativity is that large, that's definitely the same kind of thing as an antitrust, and it must be ended.
I'm going to pledge right now, and I hope that you'll pledge with me, chat. I'm only going to pirate The Mandalorian.
I don't know. I don't know if I know anyone who has Disney Plus.
That's right,
But
Chris.
that might just be my own little bubble of people who don't care about Disney that much.
Because we're all about freedom.
I was really excited to try the new Zelda, and then it was like Nintendo, and I haven't.
You heard about Breath of the Wild?
Nope.
Oh.
Should have got yourself one of those NVIDIA Switches.
The NVIDIA Switch, not the Nintendo Switch.
Well, it's got that Tegra
Yeah.
chip. Then you take that little piece of plastic. No, we can't. Krista, we managed to do this in 52 minutes, so I think your goodbye should be a celebration of how fast we got through that many stories.
Bye! And then it clips.
Oh, that's good.
It's done.
You know what? Actually, start your bye, and then I'll cut it off.